doing this.
Well, it is Tuesday, the 9th of August, 2022. The time, round about 9 East African, from Broadcasting House in the capital city, Nairobi, Kenya. This is KBC Prime. Kenya Decides edition. Our reporters embedded right across the country, covering the counting process that is ongoing as we speak. Good evening. My name is Mboya. This is Kenya Decides, as I said, and Regina Manyara is at Bomas. Regina, what do you have for us?
Partly because the political elite and the people who kind of run these countries have, in very consistent ways, disconnected from the very, very aspirations of ordinary people. People don't see themselves connected with politics, and partly is because of apathy.
To cast their ballot in these closely contested August polls. The latest from this particular NAV center, being the Bomas of Kenya, is that at 4 p.m. we had IEBC give us the latest updates, where it indicated by around 4 p.m. 12,065,803 people had cast their ballot. That was around 56.17% of the total number of Kenyans that had registered to participate in the electoral process that took place this morning. We are waiting anytime from now from their latest update in regard to the voting process. Remember, some polling stations opened rather late, as well as the conversations around what is happening within the diaspora vote. So much is happening. We're waiting to see what the update will bring. But the latest being is that so far, 5,105 Form 34As have been verified, which is just around 11.04% out of the 46,229 polling stations that we have where the voting exercise was taking place. That is what we have, so we are on standby. Back to you, Tom.
Of course, we will be getting back to you. There, vote tallying underway. Regina Manyara, they are reporting from the NAV Center that is at the Bomas of Kenya. And also, tonight, there is a question of making your vote count. Kenyans are braving the weather, all the odds to exercise their constitutional rights, of course. Plus, you remember what happened to the Mombasa and Kakamega gubernatorial elections. They were suspended, but now they have been brought back and new dates have been set. So we go straight to our lead story now. Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga Tuesday morning cast his ballot at Old Kibra Primary School. That's in Kibra constituency. He was exuding a lot of confidence. The arrival of Raila at that polling center causing a standoff after hundreds of his supporters wanting to escort him into that polling station. So let's look at that report in more detail.
Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga was accompanied by his wife Ida Odinga at Old Kibra Primary School in Kibra constituency to cast his ballot. His arrival temporarily halting operations at the center as hundreds of his supporters escorted him. Raila remaining optimistic of a win in the ballot. Former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete, who led a team of election observers at Old Kibra Primary School, lauded the manner the exercise was going on. Meanwhile, Raila Odinga's running mate Martha Karua, who cast a ballot at Mugumo Primary School in Gishugu constituency, Kakamega County, called on locals to be part of history in this election.
It's our day today to determine the direction this country takes. Make your voice heard.
Irene Mchuma Odim, the Prime Edition.
Well, that was happening in Kibra. Let's find out what is the status report from Karatina with our reporter Kevin Washira. Over to you, Kevin. Good evening.
Well, thank you very much, Regina Manyara, back in Bomas. We are here in Mathira constituency in Nyeri County, and you can tell it's a cold night by the way I'm dressing. Now, the counting of votes is currently underway here at DEB Primary, Regina Primary School. This is at the heart of Mathera constituency. This is the biggest town in Mathera constituency, and you remember that Mathera constituency has for the last 5 years been represented by UDA's deputy presidential candidate Rigathi Gachagua. And what is happening in the images that you are seeing are the presiding officer of the third polling station that was here at DEB Primary School. They are finishing up with counting the presidential ballots so that then they can go to the member of parliament ballot, then later on MCA ballot, senator ballot, women representative ballot, and the final one will be the governor's ballot. And so far, in this DEB primary, there are 3 polling stations, as I had mentioned, and they've finished 2 already. And the results that we have witnessed, because we were here when they were being counted, like ODM, or Azimio la Umoja candidate Raila Odinga had 89 votes in one class, while UDA candidate William Ruto had 346 votes. Wahige Mwaure had 1 vote, and Professor George Wajakoya had 1 vote. That is one class. We had 3 classes here. The other class, William Ruto had 354 votes, and Raila Odinga, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party candidate, had 70 votes, while Agano Party candidate Mwaure Wahige had 2 votes, and Roots Party candidate Professor George Wajakoya had 3 votes. Now we are waiting for the final counting of the votes of this third class, so that they can combine all the three results. Then they will be transmitted to the tallying center, Mathera tallying center, whereby they will then get the results from all the other 200 polling stations in Mathera constituency. Now here Mathera constituency we have 201 polling stations and about 104,000 registered voters. And the process, the way if we look at the process, how it began in the morning, you can say the electoral process was smooth. The Kim's kit were working, but the turnout was not as much as it was compared to 2017. But we have not received any complaints or cases of incidences or of mishap of security. We can say here in Mathera, the voting exercise was smooth. Back to you, Regina.
Well, actually, we will be taking it to Regina in a short while. Thank you very much, Kevin Washira. We will be coming to you to give us more details as they emerge, crunching those numbers tonight because the voting closed at 6. And so obviously the eye of the nation is on the numbers. Now, we want to take you to where Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate Dr. William Samoei Ruto was reiterating that he will accept the outcome of the election. He made these remarks after he cast his ballot at Kosechal Primary School. The deputy president at the same time exuding a lot of confidence that he will emerge the winner in this year's poll. Ruto, who was the first person, by the way, to cast his ballot at 6 in the morning at Kosechal, said that he did so to lead his supporters by example. The deputy presidential candidate, Rigathi Gachagua, voted at Sagans Primary School, that's in Nyeri County. He lauded IEBC for conducting the exercise seamlessly. Our reporter Timothy Kipnusu is on assignment there.
Voting day in Uasin Gishu County. Voters woke up early to respond to their civic duty, with many polling centers witnessing long queues. The Kenya Kwanza presidential flag bearer William Ruto was the first to cast his ballot at 6 a.m. at Kosechal Primary School in Sugoi Turbo constituency.
Thank you very much.
Ruto is number 491 according to the IEBC register, exuded confidence of emerging the winner in the polls. He, however, said he will respect the verdict of the people.
And I believe that this vote is going to be definitive. in many ways. And as I have said earlier, it's going to be a vote that will change the destiny of our country.
The Deputy President has called on IEBC to ensure the process reflects the will of the people.
Let us respect everybody's choice, even if it is different from yours. I think it is the essence.
Outgoing Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua, on the other hand, arrived at Sagana Primary School in Nyeri County at 5:45 a.m. to join other voters to elect a new batch of leaders. The UDA Deputy Presidential candidate lauded IEBC for a seamless exercise.
The exercise so far is very peaceful, and that is what we want for this country. This election is a process, and life must go on. I want to appeal to the people of Kenya to keep peace. I'm aware in this region, because of the way we came out in 2017 and the very low performance of the economy, many people are disappointed and were saying they will not vote. But apparently, there has been a change of heart.
Anne Rotecho, who is injured and who could not access the polling center, was also here to ensure her vote counts.
Nimekuja kupiga kura kupitia kwa Honorable Veska Kangogo. Gari yake imekuja nyumbani kunichukua ili nikaweze kupiga kura.
Vile mumeona tumeweza kuwezesha wamama wengi, wazee, babu zetu, watu wagonjwa waweze kuja kupata nafasi ya kupiga kura kwa mapema. Watu wamejitokeza kwa wingi. Na tuko na watu ambao wanafanya kazi wa IEBC wamefanya kwa njia ya ustadi.
Candidates seeking various elective positions lauded IEBC for proper coordination of the process.
The preparation of IEBC is superb. It's great and it's very adequate. The professionals are checking us very nicely, professionally. In our country, we are advanced and much better than last time. Yeah.
Has been most organized as compared to the previous ones, especially the 2013-2017 election. Imekuwa very peaceful, very organized, na imeendelezwa kwa mpango sawasawa.
Tuchague viongozi ambao watatuweka kuwa mmoja kwa nchi moja ambao tunapenda amani.
Timothy Kipnusu, Uasin Gishu County.
Well, from Sagana and Kosache, we land in Kakamega County, where Roots Party presidential candidate Professor George Lushiri Wajakoya experienced delays to vote occasioned by a malfunction of the KIMS kit due to poor configuration. An agitated Professor Wajakoya voiced his frustrations in a press briefing at noon that saw IEBC resort to a manual register at his Indagalasia Primary School polling center, as well as 153 other polling stations across Kakamega County and 84 stations in Kibwezi West constituency.
A livid Roots Party presidential candidate Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya said it was disheartening for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which had all the time to put in place a credible election, to mess up on election day after KIMS kids failed at Stream 2 at Indagalasia Primary School polling center where he was to vote.
Somebody asked a question. Why Kakamega County? Why Matumbu Sub-County? Why? What are these people afraid of? Why couldn't they test the kids? Why couldn't they test the kids? Does it mean if I don't vote, votes will be counted? Or do they want us to go to court?
Speaking at Indagalasia Primary School polling center, Wajakoya decried the delay which was occasioned by the KIMS kids' malfunction. Wajakoya, flanked by his wife Milalith Chitam, expressed disappointment at the way voters at the polling station could not vote 6 hours after voting had started across the country.
It's very disappointing for the machines to not be working on the day that's most important to the lives of all Kenyans concerned.
After a back and forth between his home and the polling center, after IEBC allowed the Roots Party presidential candidate cast his vote shortly before 1 p.m., the use of the manual voter register at Indagalasia Primary School polling center, as well as 153 other polling stations in Kakamega County and 84 polling stations in Kibwezi West constituency.
Well, delays and logistic problems being reported there in certain areas, and we hope to just get an overview from our analysts a little later on. But let's now see what happened. Agano Party presidential aspirant Waihiga Mwaure has exuded confidence also in the voting process, hailing IEBC for a brilliant job done. Both Mwaure and his running mate Ruth Mutua, who voted at the Upper Hill Secondary School in Kibra constituency right here in the capital city, and Umoja respectively, said that they were confident of clinching the country's top seat. Here is that report.
Long and short queues are evident at the Upper Hill Secondary School in Kibra constituency, where 686 registered voters were expected to vote. Among them, Agano Party presidential candidate Waihiga Mwaure. A few minutes past 7 o'clock, Mwaure will arrive at the polling center in his signature clerical collar to exercise his democratic right. Mwaure will term the voting process as smooth as the IEBC to ensure the entire process and eventual tallying and declaration of winners in various elective positions represents the wishes of Kenyans.
I expect to win. I expect Kenyans to vote for me. And I expect, and for me, I have dreams. I will come in with, a big broom and make Kenya great as it should be.
I'm only asking that the IBC can assist because I have heard within this station that there are people who have missed their names on the King's Kit and on the manual invoice.
Agano Party is among the 4 parties that fielded candidates for the presidential seat. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Various individuals are vying for gubernatorial positions in different counties took part in the voting process, urging their supporters to come out and support their bid. The candidates urging the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) to ensure that all political agents are present during the vote counting to avoid cases of disrupted votes. Dr. Richard Lesiampe, the gubernatorial candidate for Samburu, urged his peers to accept the outcome of the election. We now bring you the pictures of how various gubernatorial candidates voted.
Just need for clarity and the same standard to apply in all the polling stations. There are certain areas where Kim's kits are not working, like in Westlands, Farasi Lane. There's one ballot box in Toi Primary that had a cover of Kitengela Primary. A lot of that information should be available before people line up.
Today is a day to celebrate democracy, and democracy means majority have their way, minority have their say. I congratulate the IEBC for the arrangements, although there are some slight delays, but we can be patient with one another and we can be patient with ourselves.
People are taking a very short time before they are cleared and they can be able to vote. And therefore, with the exception of a few anomalies here and there, like Rongai, where the MP ballots were not available, I think much of the other areas, the logistical aspect of the election has been very well conducted. And I think we want to commend the IBC at this stage. The second issue is with respect to voter turnout. We have noted that in a good number of our areas, the voter turnout still remains low. People from wherever they are able to come to our voting centers. The process is very smooth. There is no chaos or anything that you may consider unpleasant.
My prayer was the day to reach, and particularly myself, to be available to at least do the democratic right of myself and that preparedness for us as Kenyans is very good, and we'll call up all Kenyans. Let's stick to the process. Let's appreciate. Let's give people an opportunity to deliver and to be able to participate in this great process, to choose their leaders who will be able to lead in the next 5 years.
Niko nayo already.
The process was great. It was seamless. I actually got here about a few minutes to 6 and waited in line for my turn. The turnout was good because I could see even at 6 o'clock the line was quite big. I am very, very, very pleased this morning to see that my fellow Kenyans really came out to exercise their civic duty, their democratic rights to come out and vote today.
Koti imeamuru IEBC kutumia manual register, na kwa hivyo inafaa wakuwe wako na ile KMS kit ya kutambua wananchi kutumia vidole register kando.
Now we take you to what is happening live here at the National Tallying Center, at the auditorium to be precise, where IEBC is giving its latest updates. Let's have a listen in.
Amen. Thank you. Let's be seated. Thank you very much. Allow me to recognize the presence of the IBC chairman, who is also the presidential returning officer, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, the IBC vice chairperson, Madam Juliana Cherera, the IBC commissioners, the IBC CEO, the IBC DCS present, Madam Kulundu. Allow me to humbly and in a very special way to recognize the presence of Right Reverend John Obala Owa of the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, and also Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui of National Council of Churches of Kenya, and all the delegates that have come with them, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening. Good evening once again. Yes, today is 9th August 2022. 9th August 2022. And Kenyans woke up very early today from 6 a.m. so that they can choose their leaders. And the polling station closed at 5 p.m. We now start another phase for the results management transmission, which will officially be commissioned by none other than the IBC chairman and also the presidential returning officer, Mr. Wafula Chebukati. We have a few choirs and we want to recognize, Chairman, the presence of Choir Mtakatifu Kizito from Tanzania. They arrived yesterday at 2 a.m. We want to appreciate you for coming to spread peace and to celebrate with us and to also instill confidence and to support us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen from Tanzania. Let's give them a hand of applause. Thank you for coming to pray with us for peace in this country. We also recognize the presence of Wazalendo singers. They are here with us. Where are they? Thank you. Thank you for coming to support us, to pray with us, and to hold us together. I also wish to recognize the presence of Muungano National Choir. Thank you, Muungano National Choir. Thank you as well for coming to support us and to pray with us. We also have Ninga Melodies Band. Thank you, Ninga Melodies Band. Thank you for your support. And without taking a lot of time, allow me to welcome Wazalendo singers who will give us one song, and thereafter Kwaya Mtakatifu Kizito from Tanzania. Give them a hand of applause. A better hand of applause. Wazalendo Singers, Kenya nchi yangu nitaitukuza milele. We now welcome our guest choir from Tanzania. Let's give them a hand of applause. Kwaya Mtakatifu Kizito.
commissioners, fellow religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters who have come to pray with us. Following a peaceful election day, we wish to thank Kenyans for voting peacefully and to give a brief message of hope. We, the religious leaders, take this moment to deeply thank all Kenyans for heeding our call and voting peacefully during the polls held today, August 9th, 2022. This manifestation of political and social responsibility is commendable, knowing that God appreciates those who keep peace, as we read in Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. We thank God that the whole process has so far been encouraging. As we start receiving results from various polling stations, we have the following points to reflect on together. First, voting process. Throughout the day, we received reports from more than 3,000 observers spread across the country. These reports indicate that although there were some logistical and technological hitches, polling progressed well in most of the stations. We commend the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for putting in place a structure to ensure efficiency in the process. We are, however, concerned that elections were suspended in some parts of the country. We urge the voters and candidates in the affected areas to remain peaceful and patient as they await the opportunity to vote for their leaders, which the IEBC has announced will be done soonest possible. 2. Counting and tallying. Following the closure of polling stations across the country, the electoral process has now shifted to counting and tallying of the votes. We call upon all the IEBC officials, agents of political parties and candidates, and all others involved in the process to exercise the highest possible levels of transparency, accountability, and accuracy. It will be an affront to Kenyans if the ballots they cast so faithfully are miscounted. Whereas the IEBC is constitutionally mandated to declare results, other actors have been allowed to undertake parallel tallying. We ask all who do so and broadcast their findings to continually inform their audiences that such results are provisional. This is to ensure that mistakes made by specific institutions do not mislead the public. Dealing with results. Constitutional democracies such as Kenya are premised on competitive elections which produce winners and losers. We therefore call upon all candidates, supporters, and commentators to carefully consider their words and actions in response to the results that are announced. Recognizing that every Kenyan has a role to play in the betterment of our society, we encourage both winners and losers to accept the will of the people. has provided for in law, any candidate or Kenyan who is dissatisfied with the results may seek legal redress. No one should incite Kenyans to engage in violence on account of the election results. Let us remember the word of God recorded in first letter of Peter, chapter 3, verses 10 to 11. Whoever would love life and see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from deceitful speech. He must turn from evil and do good. He must seek peace and pursue it. Religious leaders and institutions remain available to provide pastoral care, support, and counseling to all the candidates and supporters. 4. Uphold peace and national cohesion. The peace witnessed across the country today is a positive sign of hope for all Kenyans. We encourage all actors and stakeholders to act responsibly and at all times endeavor to preserve peace and national cohesion. The individual aspiration for leadership by any person should not put the lives of Kenyans at risk. In conclusion, we commend the millions of Kenyans who turned out to vote today. We have exercised our constitutional and civil duty. Let us continue upholding peace and responsible character in line with the prayer we make through our national anthem. O God of all creation, bless this, our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. God bless our beloved country, Kenya. God bless you all. This message, signed on this 9th day of August 2022, at Donum Dei Karen, where we met, is signed by Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui on behalf of National Council of Churches of Kenya, and Right Reverend John Obala Owa on behalf of Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops. Blessed evening.
Thank you very much, Right Reverend Obala, and the entire KCCB team and NCCK team for coming again to be with us. To come and officially commission the results transmission management phase. Thank you.
Very well. From the Nav Center at the Bomas of Kenya, we come back right here at Broadcasting House in the capital city, Nairobi. The vote counting process still ongoing. There was a presser there by IEBC commending Kenyans on how they have conducted themselves. And the word peaceful keeps coming up over and over again. And I think that's a good thing. We had the speaker there even talk about, recite the first stanza of the National Assembly. And I'm now joined in studio by my panelists. We have from my far left, Gibson Gisore, a political analyst and an advocate also of the High Court. Thank you so much for coming, Bwana Wakili. Next to Wakili, we have Millie Luanga, a governance expert and also a lawyer. And we appreciate that you found time to come and be with us. And just next to me, we have Diperal Kanana. I hope I got it right. Kathmandu.
Dipendre Candle Nepal.
Dipendre
Candle Nepal.
Candle Nepal. So I want to thank you so much for coming to KBC and for agreeing to come and just give us an overview of what you have seen. You're of course an international election observer, and I believe you have observed many elections, so your insights will be helpful. So before I throw it to my colleague Doreen Arangi, who is there. Doreen, you wanna just tell us what you'll be doing tonight? Because tonight we are going to focus a lot on how those numbers are streaming in. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, actually, that is our business tonight. I mean, just after the polling stations were closed at 5 p.m., as it was mentioned by IEBC, except for those areas whereby they have extended, the time simply because of those issues that were in there, that particular, polling stations, either the fact that the ballot papers didn't arrive quite on time, or the different underlying issues, so to speak. So clearly that will be a business tonight, Tom, just trying to track the results as they come in, the data, and we're looking at all the various places, that elections have been conducted, ideally just across the country tonight. But again, remember, much as you're tracking the results for you, this is not the final result. Just remember, IEBC said that indeed the media can also, tally those particular results, but they are the ones to make the final announcement. So much as you're doing this just to give you an overview of what to expect, so to speak, or what we have so far. But key in point and to mention is that this is not the final result. This is actually just the provincial result. So this is what we shall be exploring tonight, Tom, just looking at how, also the votes have been cast. That oftentimes we keep talking about the number of registered voters oftentimes does not tally with the number of valid voters. For instance, we had a total of 22.1 million voters in this particular election, but a good number of times you really don't see that tally with the overall number of valid votes. And there's oftentimes quite a number of issues that have brought that forth. Key among them also just being how, Kenyans go ahead and cast their votes, either not marking at the correct, places as it were, or just not turning out to vote. Again, there's also been a conversation out there in respect to voter apathy, particularly amongst the young population. Just going by what IEBC had released, we're talking about 38.97%, which is a total of 8.4 million out of the 22.1 million voters, and that just amounts to the youth vote. So also what we'll be looking at is how the youth vote will turn out at the end of the day. But before we get to do all of that, Tom, with a guest, what more? Tom?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much there, Doreen. And we'll be coming back to you on the smart board just to look at those numbers because they're trickling in as we speak. And she spoke about a certain percentage that I think it was by 5 p.m. there was 56%, 12 million who had voted already. But before even we talk about that, just give me a general overview of your assessment of where we are so far.
For me,
first
of all, it's an honor to have such opportunity here in front of the national TV, in front of the Kenyan and to the world. I have some limitations as I'm an observer.
Yeah.
So my modalities are pre-day election observation and voting day observation. and after the counting day observation. So I haven't started the counting day observation, so I'm not able to do any kind of assessment about the counting related observations at the moment.
But we did hear a lot of the presidential candidates, if you followed the stories that we had earlier on, the common thread that cuts through, most of the candidates are saying that it was peaceful, it was peaceful, it was peaceful, it was peaceful. So I get a sense that there is consensus, you know, in how we have done so far, how IBC has done. And Millie Mwanga, from you're a governance expert, what are you seeing, you know, so far?
True to Kenyan style, we normally vote very peacefully. We turn out in large numbers and we cast our votes. We did not turn out in as large numbers as we anticipated. I think 56% was not the target that most of us thought we would reach today. But generally, on the very day of peace of voting in Kenya, traditionally it has always been peaceful. The problems are normally before and particularly after. And after the voting.
Okay.
It is now when we are getting to the place when the counting of the votes start that tensions begin. So far it's been good.
Very peaceful.
And I think Kenyans are generally out to be peaceful this time around.
Excellent. Before I come to Gibson Gisore, let's just go back to the Nav Center, Bomas of Kenya. I hear the chair of IBC is making some remarks.
And as a result, the time that was lost was compensated. The results transmission has started, as you can see on the screen. What you see is the result forms coming in, and already there's a percentage you can see there. And these transmitted forms are also available on our public portal on the website. And I believe the media, the presidential candidates, and other stakeholders and Kenyans at large can log on to the public portal and have access to the presidential result forms 34As. And when the form 34Bs will be collected, they'll also be posted on the public portal. And just to remind Kenyans that the Commission has 3 tallying centers at the constituency, county, and national tallying center, which is right here at Bomas. Now, what happens at constituency tallying center? We shall have tallying of results from polling stations and declaration of results or winners of the member of National Assembly and the member of County Assembly. That's at the constituency. And there will also be collation of presidential, gubernatorial, senatorial, and countwoman member of National Parliament results. Then we have the county tallying center, where there will be final tallying and declaration of results for gubernatorial candidates, senatorial candidates, and countwoman member of Parliament. Here at the National Tallying Center, we shall be doing verification of transmitted image of the result from 34As against original from 34As. So the images are coming in, but our returning officers will bring the original forms, then we shall do verification once we receive them. And you can see the desks will be here in the open, 5 desks, and each desk will have the IBC officials and agents of presidential candidates. All the 4 agents will be accommodated here. Then we shall also have verification of constituency form 34Bs against their respective form 34As, followed by collation of form 34C. Then we shall also have confirmation of constitutional threshold of 50% plus 1, and also confirmation of 25% of majority of counties of the votes garnered. We shall then follow with the declaration of presidential results and issuance of certificate to the president-elect. So those are activities that will be in this phase of results at the National Tallying Center. So here we shall have 3 screens running. The first screen is the one you see on the right, which is projecting the number of Form 34As received from polling stations. The second screen will project collected results received from the constituencies, and the third screen will project the county aggregates of all the 47 counties. In transmitting the results transmission system has been configured to send the results only once with one QR code which is configured for that polling station. Persons authorized to be at the polling station include the media, observers, and polling station agents who are allowed to take an image of the Form 34A. And we all must remember that the results announced at the polling station are final and cannot be changed by anyone. So that is the exercise we are undertaking. And once the verification is complete, the constituency returning officers will come present the results for announcement. In conclusion, I must mention that the law requires the Commission to undertake verification of presidential election results and declare President-elect within 7 days on conclusion of the polls. As a Commission, we call for patience among Kenyans as we undertake this rigorous exercise, and we also endeavor to complete this exercise as soon as possible. So thank you very much. God bless all of us, and God bless Kenya. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a better hand of applause, please. Then we have Muungano Choir.
Well, that was the chair of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, walking us through especially operational aspects of the county tallying, the collation, putting together the numbers for all those races, the gubernatorial, the senatorial, the women rep, and also the presidential race, and also touching on the fact that the law is very clear that they are the ones to declare the winners. And I was in the process of introducing my guests. Gibson Gisore, I'm sure you listened to what the chair said, that in fact the law expects him that inside 7 days that he should have, declared who the winner is. But we have had even cynicals, saying, oh, you know what, it may go over. So thank you first for coming, and perhaps you can, as your introductory remarks, you can just touch on that a bit.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think what I've heard him say is that the law allows him up to 7 days, but I don't expect him to go up to 7 days.
What's your feeling?
My feeling is he should do this earlier. He should do this earlier, given that there is no much reason, really.
Yeah. Why do you feel it needs to be right now and not now?
Of course, he needs to do his due diligence, of course, examine the materials sent to him and be able to verify that is his work. So he needs to ensure that whatever is declared is really the true results which he got from the local stations. And sometimes, of course, we have over 1,000 stations which do not have internet, and some of those challenges, those are some of the hiccups we expect him to be facing. Yeah. And then, of course, there is also the aspect of some stations are not able to vote. I don't know what the contribution of those stations will be, like Mombasa and Kakamega, the gubernatorial one, but I think in the national for the national presidential one, there's no problem. We need to have the results well in advance as they come in.
And we will be talking about the implications of those hiccups that were encountered, although new dates have been given.
Yes.
But let me come to you, Kandel, as an observer. Wakili spoke about, you know, the interplay between speed, announcing the results very fast, but then there's also the element of accuracy. So how important is it to strike a balance between, yes, you want to make the announcement fairly soon because it minimizes the anxiety in the country, but also you want to be very accurate from an observer's perspective. How do you see that interplay?
From my side, yeah, of course, we used paper ballot system this time, and of course it's a culture of most of the country. They take paper ballot system as well, and if we are using the paper ballot system and we are taking more time casting the vote, I think it's a culture as well, you know, counting the paper, counting the votes, unfolding the votes. Hey, these are the presidential votes, and you counted the numbers. It's a part of the culture of cultural election, I believe. So yeah, of course we have to take time, but sometimes it creates a problem where the result, we need to know how long it was for the last election. I was not here, but we need to see that record as well. And I want Kenya or IEBC to come up with such decision which will make more attractive information to the world as well.
Okay, and it's true that maybe you didn't get the opportunity, you know, to observe the last election, but Millie Lwanga, you are here, and I'm sure you followed the proceedings in 2017. If you pay attention to what a lot of the candidates are saying, there's an area where, you know, they're mentioning in very soft tones on voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout. Yeah. Yes, broadly they are happy that, you know, so far there's a lot of peace, but you hear them, you know, murmuring voter turnout, voter turnout. What are your thoughts on voter turnout, given that we were told, I think, was it 5 p.m. or something, that we were doing 56%? Yeah.
Yes, it's true, because remember that the voter turnout in 2017 for the first presidential election was quite impressive. I don't remember the exact figure, but I do remember it was pretty high. But for the repeat election, after the court nullified the presidential election, there's been a lot of discourse around the correct figures as to the turnout for that repeat election. And subsequent to that, the talk of voter apathy, and many people being interviewed by media and stating very clearly that they do not see the benefit of turning out to vote, has led to this long conversation within the country for the last 5 years that people are no longer interested in voting. And unfortunately, that point was re-emphasized during the drive by IEBC to register new voters, because the anticipated numbers that IEBC expected to have register as voters was dismal in reality. You would see media covering IEBC officers in the market. They went as close as possible as they could to the people, and people did not go to vote, to register, sorry, as voters. So that dismal turnout continued to build up with the agenda or the talk about low voter turnout and the apathy. And remember that this was being seen vis-a-vis the impact on the likelihood of the leading presidential candidates, what the voter turnout would mean to their numbers and to the ability for them to emerge winners. So that discourse became very, very interesting. So looking at the voter turnout became very key. You'll remember that the last couple of weeks, the focus has been on get out and vote. Get out and vote. It has not been so much of selling the agenda, but on get out and vote. Because depending on the numbers that turned out to vote, the likelihood of the leading candidates securing the numbers that they anticipated was either going to be realized or diminished, depending on the turnout. So that's why we hear, as you are saying it in a very interesting way, the muted discourse by the presidential candidates on voter turnout. Yes.
Okay. Before I go to Doreen, I just want to get Gibson Kisore's thoughts, especially on that question of the voter turnout. What are you seeing?
It's very interesting that you see the people who are keen on people voting are the presidential candidates, but the Kenyans themselves, save for the fact that they were in the rallies, you're not seeing them was at the polling station. I never saw huge crowds. That is besides the fact that every polling station has 700. Of course, we have to take that into consideration. But then there is that aspect also in a very soft tone. People, where should I vote? Where should I vote? Because I don't see any of these people delivering anything new, which I haven't seen so far. So there is that aspect at the back of the Kenyan minds. The economy has been not doing so well. So people are like, what else do we expect from these fellas? They just want to go feed themselves. That is one of those. And then there's also the aspect of it has been reported that in some stations, due to the confusion about whether to use the KIMS kit only or doing actually the manual register, there was some confusion. I think in some station people ended up not voting. I'm informed of a situation where somebody tried his fingers. He was told, go wash your hands first. I mean, he went and went. He couldn't come back. So if there were such situations, that could contribute greatly. And if you meet some people coming back from the station having not voted, you also resolve not to go vote because you are thinking the same might happen to you. So there's that aspect, and it's really affected some people in some areas.
Okay, so there's that trickle effect. Okay,
yes.
We'll come back to that, but let's see what my colleague has for us on the smart board.
It's voter turnout, number of votes, registered voters versus the valid votes and casted votes. Anyway, that's what we're talking about here. But ideally, also, that's what we want to clearly look at what we have on our magic wall. And as I mentioned, and I'll keep telling you this over time, that these are not the final results. They are just specifically provincial results. And also why we are doing this is because IEBC gave that green light that also media can be able to do this particular exercise when it comes to tallying of the votes. So what I want to look at very quickly is pick on two counties. Remember that these votes are continuing to trickle in, so time by time they will keep changing over time. That's what we will be having here, and we will just be looking at two specific counties, at least for now. We'll look at Kakamega as well as Nakuru. But what you have there right now, this is the total number of registered voters, particularly for this election. We were looking at 22.1 million registered voters, and obviously this is an increase from what we had in 2017, whereby it was just slightly above 19 million. But so far, and key to note, so far, the votes casted as of now stand at 26,365. And again, you just have the four presidential candidates there: Deputy President William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Professor George Wajakoya, as well as David Mwaure. Those are also what we're looking at, and this again is in respect to the presidential vote there. So quickly to those counties that I've just talked about, and perhaps you can begin from we can begin with Nakuru, so to speak. And also, it's very important to know that we clearly also have counties of focus. They are very key counties that are being looked at in this particular election also, simply because of the number of votes that, or this particular counties have. We look at counties such as Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru also falls within, that particular list in terms of voters. A total of 1.05 million voters. That is what we are looking at in this particular county. And also, this is one of those counties that has been termed as battlegrounds. And just to particularly explain to our viewers what that simply means, as we've kept saying that over time, when we talk about battlegrounds, you are simply talking about counties whereby, for instance, a particular candidate enjoyed a certain kind of support. support, but due to the efforts and inroads made by another candidate, this might just sort of, so to speak, that candidate A could still be enjoying that particular kind of support, but because of those efforts, there are some votes that both of them are still trying to battle for, so that candidate B can at least get some votes in this county or net some votes in that particular county, whereas candidate A still maintains the lead, so to speak, or it could be, just 50-50, so to speak. So this county, amongst a host of other counties such as Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, Mombasa, in this particular election falls within the battlegrounds. So let's quickly look at how things have panned out so far in this particular county. And even just before we get there, what you're currently having is a DP, having a total of 15,980 votes, a total of 60.61%, and this is out of the cast votes as of now. That is what I'm just saying, as of now. Right next, after that, we have Raila Odinga, who has a total of 10,186, which amounts to 38.63%, followed by George Wajakoya of the Roots Party, who has a total of 136, which is 0.52%. And right there next, we have David Mwaure of the Agano Party, who has 63 votes, which is a total of 0.24%. So again, this is in respect to the cast votes as of now. So let's quickly go to that particular county, which is Nakuru County, and look at how things are looking like in this county. As I've said, this is one of those counties that is being looked as a battleground. And again, remember that also there's a constituency whereby elections has been postponed. That is the Rongai constituency in Nakuru County. And just earlier on today, there's a bit of chaos in this particular county the minute IEBC announced that that election for member of parliament wouldn't be taking place. And again, the reasons were the same. When you look at the details that were presented there for that particular candidate, were not really tallying, just like what we saw in Pokot South, as well as Mombasa and equally Kakamega. So again, this is one of those things that we are looking at. But when you look at what we have right now in this particular map, like I said, again, results are continuing to trickle in. So obviously you'll have some places whereby there's still nothing yet in terms of results. But look at this. This is Gilgil constituency. Just from what you're seeing here, we are clearly seeing the deputy president getting majority of the votes there. A total of 1,168, amounting to 58.05%, followed closely by Raila Odinga, who has 829, a total of 41.20. Now, clearly just this shows you what I was talking about earlier, saying that this is one of those counties that is being termed as battleground. But this is what we have so far in this particular county, that is Nakuru. So let's quickly go to Kakamega and see what we have there. That is also one of those counties that I'd want us to also quickly look at this particular moment. Let's just quickly go to Kakamega County, again one of those counties whereby elections has been postponed because of the same issues that were coming out there in terms of the details that were in that particular ballot paper. Kakamega County as well as Mombasa County falls in that list. But let's look at what we have so far in this particular county. At least we have elections from both Matungu constituency as well as Shinyalu constituencies. Now, when again you look at those areas that I was saying, key areas to watch in terms of also key counties to watch, Kakamega also falls within that list, because when you talk about the top 6 counties, the majority of voters, Kakamega falls in right close there with a total of 844,551 registered voters. And we have also seen in the previous 2 elections, 2013 as well as 2017, Raila Odinga has really enjoyed support in this county. So far, as now, that is clearly also what we are seeing there, particularly when you look at, that constituency that is Matungu. Let's just quickly go over there and see what we have in this constituency. We are seeing him getting a total of 211 votes so far in respect to what we have, followed by William Ruto, who has a total of 42 votes in this constituency. That is Matungu, and David Mwaure having 2 votes. So far, George Wajakoya has no vote. that is in Matungu constituency. So let's just go to that other constituency, still in Kakamega County. Quickly look at that before we get back to Tom to just see what we have in that particular constituency. That is Shinyalu constituency. Again, Raila Odinga still enjoying the lead as of now. Again, it's very important for me to mention that as of now. That is 226 votes there, followed by William Ruto with 65, George Wajakoya 1 vote, and David Mwaure 0. Remember, as I said, this is that area where we have seen Raila Odinga enjoy massive support, and also it's one of those counties where we are seeing, those second-term governors, that is Wycliffe Oparanya. Again, also it's one of those contested areas, so to speak, clearly also in terms of just trying to see, the number of votes that candidates would get there. But Tom, before we get back to you, I'd just like to bring Gibson on this one very, very quickly, because we're talking about voter turnout and the number of votes. But before we get to that, Tom, what do you have?
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, the voice of the voter is now being heard, of course, and those numbers are coming in quite fast. Let's take our viewers to Machakos, where Dan Mwendwa is on assignment there. Dan, if you can hear me, what do you have for us so far?
Thank you so much, Tom Mboya from the Broadcasting House. We are here in Machakos University, where already we are getting some of the provisional results from Machakos County. Remember, we have been here the whole day from morning till now, and we have been visiting different polling stations across the county. And as we speak now, some of the results have already started coming to our tallying centers. As we speak now, here in Machakos University, the Machakos University polling center, 294 voters took part in the presidential elections, where Raila Odinga gained 182 votes, followed by UDA candidate William Ruto, who had 108 votes. George Wajakoya and Wahiga Mwaure, they had 1 vote each. When we cross over to Vondeni Primary School in Masinga, we saw that Raila gained 219 votes, followed by William Ruto with 23 votes. Wahiga Mwaure didn't get any vote, and George Wajakoya got 1 vote. When we cross over to Kadhiani Primary School, Raila Odinga leading with 224 votes, followed by William Ruto with 66 votes. Again, Wahiga Mwaure didn't get any vote, and George Wajakoya had 2 votes. We move over to Mutondoni Primary School, also in Kadhiani, where Raila gained 310 votes. William Samoei Ruto got 80 votes, while Wahiga Mwaure had 2 votes, and George Wajakoya had 3 votes. When we cross over to Mutondoni Primary School, Raila had 307. William Ruto 81, and George Wajakoya, of course, had 3 votes. When we also cross over to Kisekini Primary School, also in Kadhiani, Raila Odinga had 159 votes, William Samoei Ruto had 41 votes, and George Wajakoya had 1 vote, while Wahiga Mwaure didn't get any vote over that place. We will be briefing you and updating you more as the results come in, and we shall be bringing them to you live. Back to you, Tom, in studio.
Many thanks indeed to Daniel Mwendwa. They are coming to us from Mombasa, burning the midnight oil because the vote counting is ongoing. Of course, the nation very anxious. And tonight our focus is primarily on how those numbers are trickling in. So let me take it back to Doreen Narangi. There was a point that you were making before Dan came in.
Before we get there, let's just go back to Kakamega a bit and look at that last constituency before we get to do that comparison on how 2017 looked like in respect to what we have right now. And this is that area, that is Shinyalu constituency. So far, when it comes to Kakamega, we just have what is, in terms of votes, we have the Matungu constituency as well as the Shinyalu constituency. So let's just quickly look at what we have there so far. And that's what we have in terms of votes. Raila Odinga at 226, William Ruto 65, George Wajakoya 1, and David Mwaure still no votes in that particular constituency. As we have said, is that when you look at the voting patterns in 2013 as well as 2017, this is an area where we have seen Raila Odinga clearly enjoying support over time, and that's also clearly what we have. But so, Tom, before I get to do that comparison, I'd just like to pick from Gibson, to pick his mind on ideally these areas where elections have been postponed, and this is one of those areas, Kakamega County. And since we're on that beat of voter pattern, voter turnout, in respect to the day that IEBC will say after that gazettement, how does this likely to look like in terms of voter turnout? Are we likely to see a drop, the same, an increase? What is your analysis and assessment on this one, Gibson?
My prediction is that of course it could change given that we are not there yet. The numbers will go low because, as expected in every by-election in Kenya, or in this situation which is similar to almost a by-election, because it's an election after an election, people will have moved on, since they will be like, given that an election will have to be done on a weekday, which people will be working, and people will be having various commitments, so the turnout will of course be low.
Okay, well said. Now, let's look at the comparison just a bit. 2017 and 2022, because that is our benchmark in terms of also how the votes, are coming in. And again, remember, for one to be declared a president, then they clearly need to have the 50% plus one. That is the threshold. And also 25% in the 24 constituencies, just as it were when IEBC was clearing these aspirants to become candidates, and they were asking them to bring 2,000 signatures in at least 24 counties. The same is replicated when it comes to one being declared as a president, but now this is in terms of 25% in at least the 24 constituencies. So when you look at how the voting patterns look like in 2017, very quickly, look at how things look like. We had Uhuru Kenyatta obviously on the lead with 54.17%. Raila Odinga came in closely with 44%. That was a total of 6,820,598. So that county which we have just moved from focusing on, that is Kakamega County. Let's quickly look at how things panned out in 2017. Let's quickly go to that county, try and see how things look like in respect to what we have so far. This is how it looked like. Look at that, just showing you in the various constituencies that exist in this particular county. Raila Odinga clearly enjoyed a majority of the support there. That was in Kakamega County. As at that time, we had a total of 743,736 registered voters against, the valid votes as at then, which was at 555,581. I mean, Tom, when you look at this is clearly an, in respect to what we have now, because in 2022 we have slightly above 844,000 registered voters.
Yeah, 844. And in fact, if you look at even overall, at the national level, we have 22.1 million registered voters, as compared to the 19 million in 2017. And I just want to bring in Millie. Comparative analysis. We are seeing that the number of registered voters went up. What we are hearing from the candidates is that, there's a low voter turnout. So it's a bit of a paradox, right? That we're saying there's a low voter turnout, and yet we have a higher number of registered voters. And my question to you is, how does that, given that trajectory where we are heading, how do you think it will affect the final results?
I think that is why we constantly talk about the apathy that Kenyans have towards voting. because when more of us are registering to become voters, but the percentage of those of us who turn out to vote is decreasing every time, then it is clear that less of us are interested in voting. So it's really is an issue of concern, because remember that in a democracy, you would like as much as possible for the leaders that you put into office to represent the will of the majority. In fact, when we wrote our current constitution in 2010, one of the things that we consciously dealt with as a nation was the issue of who should become president, and must they, because for many years we had a president leading when he actually had been getting the minority of the votes, so that you looked at the number of votes that were obtained by the opposition candidates, and there were more than the votes that were obtained by the then President Moi. So when we were then drafting the current constitution, one of the things we said is that's why we talk of the 50+1 and 25% in at least 24 counties, so that really as you come in as president, it is clear that a good percentage of the country would like to have you as president. So it becomes clear that we are having leaders that less of us have put in office. And it's important for us to have that interest in who we put in office, because then we can hold them to account.
Do you get a sense that sometimes, you know, or let me put it this way, there are issues on one end of the spectrum, and then there are personalities on the other end of the spectrum?
True. Very true, because at the end of the day, we have very strong personalities in the people who come and present themselves for the seats that we have set. Take an example of course we are speaking about figures today, but take an example of Wajakoya. He has been a very big personality in this election. He came in and his presence has been felt very strongly. But whether the issues that he has brought to the table, whether the kind of conversation he has tried to steer the country into, whether it translates into voter turnout in the first place, whether it translates into a larger percentage of votes going into his docket or not, is something that we'll have to see.
Okay, you spoke of Wajakoya, and my colleague Doreen just broke down those numbers. I think if you look at overall so far what we have, and these are provisional as Doreen indicated.
Yes.
Wajakoya I think is at 0.5%.
Yes. And
David Mboya is at 0.24%. Raila Odinga is at 38%, and Ruto is at 60%. I understand that we have our reporter Trevor there. I know he has been holding fort for us. He's in Kasarani. Trevor is at the Nairobi Tallying Center. Trevor, thank you for joining us. Tell us what you have for us.
A very good evening to you, Tom, in studio. Well, we are coming to you live from the Kasarani Constituency Tallying Center here. A few moments ago, we were at the county tallying center, which is happening still right across this building, this premise where we are right now. And we are witnessing currently, as you can see behind me, nothing much is going on. This is the constituency tallying center. We're informed that currently the main business is going on at various polling stations where the votes are being counted currently. But as of now, this is the situation like. Nothing much is going on, but here I am privileged to be joined in by the constituency returning officer. His name is Amos Nyongesa. I'll kindly invite him to the set and ask him a few questions. Welcome very much, sir, Mr. Amos Nyongesa. It's good to have you. We're live on KBC. Kindly give us an update of what is going on here, and maybe what do we expect to be going on late in the evening.
Right now what's going on, we have tallying of those results in the polling stations. So we are waiting for the presiding officers to bring the results here anytime from now.
Maybe you can tell us how the day for you. We can see that the set is already ready, and you are waiting. Maybe in a few moments to come, you'll be very busy doing your tasks. Maybe you can tell us, what do we expect?
Yeah, at least the process was smooth. It was okay. And the technology worked, I can say, around 99.9%. We didn't have any major breakdown on our technology as such. But from the updates we received so far, by the close of polling today, around 57.9% people turned up for this particular election to vote for their preferred candidates.
And is that only here in Nairobi, or is it also across other parts of the country?
I can't talk about other country, but maybe this is just a sample space of the other constituencies. Yeah.
All right. Maybe give us an overview of what do we expect to be happening later on here in the night, and maybe at what time do we expect to see the real action happening?
Like right now, the POs are already sending through the KIMs that are sending the presidential results. They're scanning those forms, and then they send to the constituent tallying center, county, and the national. So far from my checking, around 135 POs have already sent presidential results. So we are expecting the remaining to be sent in the next 30 minutes. So what we are doing is, when the forms are sent, I validate them here, then they are also validated at the county, and then validated at the national level. That's just for checks and balances. Yeah.
And maybe at what point do we expect to see now you done with the business and it goes back to the county tallying center, which is just right across this premise?
Yeah, the process of counting takes time. So maybe by the end of tomorrow, we shall be through with the counting. And then the DRO, the Deputy Returning Officer, will take results to the county. That's for women rep, senator, and governor. While the returning officer takes the presidential results to Bomas, to the national returning officer. Yeah.
So far so good.
Yeah, so far so good.
All right, thank you very much, Amos Nyongesa. We'll definitely be keeping tabs with you, and you'll be telling us more and what is happening during the day. All right, thank you. Now I want to invite one of the election observers here from the Action Aid. His name is John. I want to engage him, and he'll be telling us more about their observations during the day. These are some of the people who are very critical at this particular moment, who are engaged in the observation of the election. Welcome very much to the set side. You're live on KBC Channel 1. Kindly start by introducing yourself and tell us what you have been doing during the day and what you're engaged in.
Thank you so much. My name is John Miano. I'm from Action Aid International. What I've been doing basically is just to move from one polling station to another, observing the status quo. And I can say so far so good in Kasarani. The day has been great, and the turnout, although it was not as expected, was also quite high, especially in the morning hours. Yes.
When you say that the turnout was not as expected, what exactly do you mean? What did you expect, and maybe what did you observe in the morning that you didn't see later on in the afternoon?
There were long queues in the morning, but then around 1 p.m., the queues started dropping off, and we were just expecting maybe 2-3 people coming at a go. So I can say that I felt like people did not come out as expected, maybe at an 80-90% level. But I think what happened in the morning also reflected that those who really wanted to vote woke up early and came to vote.
All right. And have you witnessed any maybe form of malpractice going on during the day or during your observation? And maybe you can tell us, what are some of the parts that you've been surveying and observing? Is it only in Nairobi, or is it only in this particular constituency?
For Action Aid International, we are observing in several counties, including coastal and Nyanza areas, Garissa, Embu, Isiolo, Laikipia. But specifically myself, I've been in Nairobi, and specifically I've been in Kasarani. I've been to Clay City, Ward, several polling stations. I haven't experienced any malpractices. The Our presiding officers have been very clear on their role, and they have been briefing their clerks very well. The agents and the observers also have been very well briefed. And maybe the only challenge that was there is the hanging of the KMS kit, which is, of course, technology. Sometimes it misbehaves. And I think she did great, or they did great, because I saw them briefing the teams, and we could wait for some minutes, and then the exercise would continue.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. That is John Miano talking to us about his observing. He's from Action Aid, who are some of the election observers who are engaged in this process. We also have others who are also in this premise. They are from the ELOG, the Election Observation Group, who are also just going around checking what is going on and whether the election is being conducted according to what is stipulated in the Constitution. For now, though, I want to hand it over back to you, Tom, in studio. We'll definitely be keeping tabs with what is going on. We are here. We are pitching tent here, and we'll be keeping vigil for the sake of our viewers. And one of the reasons, by the way, why you should be watching KBC is because we'll be bringing you all of this exclusively as soon as it happens, and we'll be coming to you later on in the evening to just brief you on what is going on. Back to you, Tom, in studio.
Thank you very much, Trevor Ngeno there, talking to both the presiding officer at the Kasarani Tallying Center and also an observer. We also do have an observer here in studio, and I will be coming to you shortly to talk to us also about what factors you think influence low voter turnout, because you've had the experience of many elections across the globe. So you'll be sharing with us why you think.
I have been waiting for this question from you since like in 10 minutes. I have been waiting for it. I was just watching one observer. He was representing, I hope, Action Aid.
Yes.
He was saying, like, I was not expecting such number.
Yeah.
So he was expecting the name of the president in the future as well. This is against the norms of the election. He's not supposed to tell that.
Okay.
We are the one who are going to present our opinion. We are not going to say it was not expected.
Okay.
Did you get it?
All right.
So this is against it. Number one. Number two, this is democracy. Democracy, 50% plus one is the winner. There are so many countries around the world which has 50% plus turnout voter, voter turnout.
Yeah.
So in democracy, it's an acceptable number, number one. Another factor, okay, there was something was expected more. Who was the one who expected? Whether there was the pre-election to find the number of the voter turnout, or was it just prediction? It might be the prediction.
Okay.
So this is the real number.
Yeah.
That number was not the real. That number was not tested with the people of Kenya.
Okay, and I'll come back to you because I noticed you feel.
I'm going to add some point on it. Another thing, registered voter are the numbers who are registered as a voter.
Yeah.
But that number does not mean that they will vote on that particular day 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is another point.
Yeah.
Another thing, when we register the voter, after the registration, then only we announce the candidacy. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the voters, they don't like to vote it. That's the human rights.
Yeah.
How we can use this term in order to spoil the politics of this Kenyan general election again.
Okay.
This is the sense that I'm feeling it. Because administrative wise, IEBC, I have been to so many polling stations, but I cannot guarantee, I do not have, I do not have any observer sitting in the morning, 5 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the evening on that particular polling station. I just go for 5 minutes, see, and take the name of the polling station. So I cannot tell the exact 100% what happened on that polling station.
What happened on that polling station?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is just about, I'm saying the message I was, it's against the norms of the election. We are not supposed to expect who's going to win the presidency.
Yeah.
It's Kenyan It's the Kenya.
Who will
Kenya decided.
Absolutely. And
another. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because whenever I see some irregularities in it, so I challenge to anybody, election observer, observation group, find some irregularities, then we can understand why we are bringing some irrelevant issue to make the upcoming president with lots of bad images or something like that. End of the day, we are not going to stay in Kenya. Kenyan people will have to face on it. We're going to take the plane and go by Kenya. So we are not supposed to interfere any kind of political observation.
Okay.
If they are happy to share their evidences of the irregularities, then we can discuss on it.
Okay, I understand. And you did mention something about being the observer of the observers. I wonder how that works.
This is you see, I'm quite aggressive on it as well, because I was observing his observation.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You're very
passionate about.
Supposed to expect this must turn out.
Yeah.
I told you, registered voters are not the voters. I'm gonna vote 100%. Can you show me that number? No, there is no number.
There is no number. So maybe he gave his opinion. And by the way, we also are bound by certain rules. That
and another thing is, a registered voter are the voters who are registered. COVID happened, and this is one of the developing country. And in my country, there are millions of people outside the countries as well. Sometimes I do not get opportunity to vote in my country as well. So we cannot use that word politically. This is against the code of conduct of my organization, that what I do in the election, to save the election if they are trying to spoil other countries' election through politically.
Right. Okay, Millie Luanga, from a governance perspective, and he brings it out that, there are rules of engagement. We, the fourth estate, only project those numbers, but we cannot declare because that's not within our purview. But then there is the aspect of we are showing it, and the audiences are seeing the numbers. In fact, we are just updating and verifying our numbers, and I'll be handing over to Doreen shortly. But then there is also the aspect of, we can see it. So there's that element of, are we hiding something that is already in plain sight?
That is why Doreen is doing an excellent job, because every time she comes up with the numbers, she keeps reminding people that, remember, these are provincial, these are not the real results, because there are very many factors that you have to take into account as you project the results. Remember that you're getting the results from your people who are coming from different polling stations. Someone may have, for example, it's been sent in the phone, you may have read a 7 as a 1, or you could have read a 1 as a 7. There could be those slight mistakes that could have been read. And that's why even Chebukati, the returning officer of the presidential election, has to wait and verify the information that will have been sent through the KIMS when the people present themselves, and when they confirm, when the information has been confirmed by the returning officers in all around the country. So that's why it becomes very important, because some of the information you could even have doubled. You could send the same polling station twice. Because these are things being churned out very quickly. And when things are happening, mistakes could happen. That's why verification becomes key. But also for good governance, there is nothing as good as transparency. When you allow everyone to come with the information, and then we shall all interrogate it. Remember that even the 4 presidential candidates have got their agents at Bomas, who will look at those, will verify. They are also verifying with their own agents on the ground. So it's about checking and counter-checking and making sure that at the end of the day, the numbers that you have on, you are all able to agree upon generally.
All right, and I'll be coming to Gibson Gisore to also tell us what he thinks about building that robust framework and having an auditing mechanism all the way to when Chebukati will be releasing those results finally. So, Doreen Narangi, what do you have for us now?
Changing, should I say minute by minute? Just what, in short, in under like 20 minutes ago, we were talking about 11,000, votes so far for William Ruto, but that's not quite the case right now. Remember that we have said, and we'll keep saying that all the time we're giving you this result, is that this is not the final result. So do not feel some type of way. Just be calm, cool your anxiety, because this is not yet the final result. These are just provincial results, and we keep updating them minute by minute as it comes. So far we are still on the 21 million registered voters. Those were the registered voters, particularly for this election. Right now, we are standing at 59.54%. That is for William Ruto, a total of 21,398 votes so far, followed closely by Raila Odinga with 39.69%. That's a total of 14,264. Nothing was really changing much when it comes to Wajakoya, particularly in terms of percentage, because it still stands at 0.53%. Earlier, that was about 0.51%, if my memory serves me correct. That's around 190 votes so far. And then followed by the Agano Party leader, that is David Mwaure, with a total of 89 votes, which is 0.25%. And this is so far at exactly 8 minutes to 11. This is exactly what we have at this minute. But now, let's go to some... just looking at what also other counties are looking like. I remember also, much as we are looking at these results, bit by bit as they come, we shall also be doing comparison with 2017, and we shall stretch that further to 2013, because as Thomas mentioned, and as you're talking about, tonight, it's all about numbers, crunching them for you, trying to make them make sense, logic in a cogent way. That is what we are here for today. So let's just look at what we have in, let's start with Kiambu. Kiambu is also one of those counties to watch. This is actually county number 2 with highest number of voters. We are talking about a total of 1.2 million voters. That is what we are seeing in this particular elections. And so far, this are the results we have just for these 2 constituencies. That is Gatundu North and Gatundu South constituency. So that is what we currently have, at least as of now, in all these other constituencies that exist within Kiambu County. And obviously William Ruto is on the lead, going by what we are having there, a total of 4,397, which is 79%. But let's just pick on one of these constituencies and see. Let's pick on what? Let's pick on Gatundu South constituency. Let's look at that. This is also the home turf of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and earlier on today we saw him casting his ballot there. Looking at that, we are seeing William Ruto at 1,209 votes so far, Raila Odinga 467, George Wajakoya at 9, and David Mwaure at 5. Let's look at the other constituency that we have still within the same county. That is Gatundu North. William Ruto just netting majority of the votes there, a total of 3,102 votes. Raila coming in second at 661. Right next is George Wajakoya at 14 and David Mwaure at 13. Now, before we look at Nairobi, I'd just like to bring in our governance expert on this one, Millie, and let me just speak your mind on this one as well, and your perspective, so to speak. We are talking about Kiambu County is also a majority of the votes. In fact, in the list of 6 counties, it comes in second. And there's also been a lot of conversation in respect to, will the votes tilt to whom the president is supporting or to the deputy president? What is your perspective? I mean, it's all about numbers tonight. What do you make of all this?
And have the aspect of stronghold also in the back of your mind.
Exactly.
Yes, numbers don't lie. And we can see it's pretty telling. But I think that what people have been saying is that the last address by the president may have swayed people, because remember at one point we even had a by-election in Kiambu, and the president's party lost to UDA. And one of the things that most of the members of UDA kept harping upon was the fact that if the president cannot even secure a Jubilee ticket in a by-election in his own backyard, then how can he say he's still popular? So numbers don't lie, but I think that maybe it is not as bad, or the difference is not as much as Kenyans expected, given what we have been seeing in the last couple of months or weeks.
Will the swing vote have any impact on the final tally?
Definitely it will, because I think that if you look at the fact, if history is anything to go by, if you look at what we consider strongholds of the various presidential candidates, particularly the two front runners, and then you see the areas where they have traditionally been weak, if then these votes emerge, it will definitely impact the possibility of one moving higher than the other.
Millie, also, I mean, there's also been a lot of conversation with respect to, particularly looking at Kiambu County as a whole, the question of, the feel amongst the people that this administration has not really taken care of them so well as it were. Knowing, again, this is where the President Uhuru Kenyatta comes from, might sort of tilt the vote a certain way?
Definitely it could, because there's been a lot of talk in that region, led of course by politicians, in the course of building political mileage. Whether there's enough truth in it is something else, because we have seen the president display what he has done even in those regions at the end of his term. So it becomes very difficult to completely rely on what the politicians have been saying, knowing that most of it is also being said for political mileage. But the more you repeat something, it is how advertising works, isn't it? The more you repeat something to somebody, the more they begin to believe it. So it is possible that they could have said it so often that the people within that region begin to believe that this is the truth, and they don't see it. And that's why some analysts have been saying that it is after the president has exited that people will realize he was actually so good to them in that region, and they will miss him. But it will be a wait and see.
Wait and see. I like the way she has navigated that without placing emphasis on the campaigns, which are over now.
Yes.
Or focus more on
numbers.
On the numbers, and also the anxiety levels for the voters.
Yes.
Because as Doreen says, there is a sense in which people are looking at the numbers that they have so far, and in the back of their minds, they are making conclusions. But Doreen is doing a good job reminding them that, hey, you know what? Not yet. Bado.
Wakwe pole.
Yeah, wakwe pole kidogo. I don't know whether I should ask Wakili a question before it slips my mind. There's this thing of the pronouncement by the court the other day, that in the event that technology collapses, let's collapse back to the manual. How do you operationalize that? You're a wakili.
I think it's important that the key person is the voter, because that's the person we have to capture his intentions. And at the point that you're going to use technology to deny them voting, it's going to be very sad. I think that's what the courts were trying to say, that at no point should a Kenyan go to the polling station if he has done his civic duty of registering and he appears in a register of IBC, then you tell him, now you don't appear in the kits, you can't vote. That would be very sad, and that I think if somebody's kid can go actually to the courts and have the courts declare that his rights have been denied, because that is very fundamental. It's upon IBC to ensure that, provided somebody has done is because technology is not my business. My business is to vote. And if you have come up with some way of voting, then you better ensure it works. If it doesn't work, I shouldn't be disadvantaged. That is very key. And I think that the courts were very clear in that in the event, given that the manual register is actually a printout from the KIMS kit, then there shouldn't be any worry as to this person voting is voting from the window or voting from outside. It's actually using an option, because technology fails at all times. It's not only in Kenya, it has failed even in the US, and people have resorted to counting the votes manually.
To the manual counting.
Yes, so way, that is very much expected.
If you look at the numbers, I think it was 200 KIM kits that did it out of a very negligible percentage. And my follow-up question would be, before I come to Kandel, is, I mean, look, we are seeing a Chebukati who is noticing problems and resolving them on the go. He's coming out and he's telling the country, you know what, this has happened, we have had stakeholder engagement, and the Venezuela saga has been rested and settled. And you see all the stakeholders coming out. So do you get a sense that that is also useful in building the confidence levels within the public?
That is very useful, Tom. I wouldn't expect anything less of Chebukati, because if you don't assuage people's fears in an election, in an election-charged country like Kenya, you're about to have problems. And in a sense, this is the wiser Chebukati, if I can say, because he has learned through the process. He has learned through the previous mistakes of various electoral commissions that Kenyans need updates at a time. Once a rumor has come up, come and clear it, so that people don't go again saying, you know, there was that thing which was said, maybe this is what is happening. You would have cleared it beforehand. And that is what he's trying to do, and telling Kenyans we're in control. And I think I respect the kind of Chebukati we have, because he has been leading from the front. As opposed to the last election, you could realize there was some confusion between him and Chiloba, who was in charge. Oh, yeah. And that ended up causing a lot of chaos and confusion. But this time, he's been well prepared in advance, detecting problems in advance, and actually giving a solution to them. Not waiting for the people to come and revolt and ask, why is this happening? And I think I like the way he's prepared, and the organization with the IBC is very okay. Sometime back here I said that this time IBC has invested in a communication team which is able to tell Kenyans that, you see, we're likely to have this problem, and this is what he has even called the candidates and their agents and told them, this is what we're planning, and this is what we expect from you. And that is very impressive of him.
That's very impressive. Do you think the Election Act of 2011 has dealt decisively with these issues of transparency, accountability?
Yes, to a greater extent it has, and also the aspect that they came up with the election regulations. That also, I think, Millie can agree that they have really played a key role. First, they also went and did proper training. I think this election, the backdrop of it, they've been doing a lot of training, talking to people who are the election stakeholders. So, and the other players have also come up, even with a book on an election manual. So with all these resources, you don't expect that things will be so bad, because Kenyans are becoming enlightened. I think you have heard from Deprak saying that he didn't see people miss voting, because even the election material you are going to vote, it's the same color as the box which you are going to put it in. So you can only, unless you are blind, is when you can actually have a red one being put in a blue one.
Or unless you're a man, colorblind.
Yes.
By the way, Millie, do you agree? Do you agree with that last point you made?
Yes,
in terms of the Election Act for 2011?
I think that to a large extent it's been a try, but the truth of the matter is this, that there's been a total confusion in the law. And I say this because remember, even the amendments that Chebukati tried to put in place, they came in late because Bunge was unable to, he tried to explain and pass those laws within time. And then when they were passed late, Kenyans, you know, we are very diligent with going to the courts. We rushed to the courts, and the courts went and reversed some of those amendments that had been proposed in some of those laws. So that the legal framework has not been key. And remember that the confusion did not start now, because there were amendments that were put in the laws in 2017 after the botched presidential election, the first one that was overturned by the Supreme Court.
The Maraga one.
Yes, the Maraga 1 decision. After the Maraga 1 decision, there were a number of amendments that were done to a number of laws, and they were done very quickly, and IBC was caught flat-footed because they were unable to put in place systems and even train their agents quickly enough and give them enough information based on the new law. Now that law remained in place. When they tried to amend it to rectify it, it stayed in the National Assembly for a very long time until we were going to the elections. Remember that the focus then went to amending only the Political Parties Act, and that was because they wanted to create certain things like having a political party like Azimio that we have, so that it could produce a presidential candidate. So the legal framework has been weakened over time with all those amendments. And that has, of course, put IEBC in a little bit of an awkward situation. And I think that may have contributed to our seeing for the first time ever ever, as far as I can remember, elections being called off before elections.
Elections being called off?
Yes, because the elections were called off in two counties, gubernatorial, 2 constituencies. I heard of 1 ward, you know, simply because of mistakes that you cannot understand. Many people were asking, is this the general election or are these party primaries? Because you do not expect that. We have never seen that, as far as I can remember.
As far as you can remember?
Unless death, you know, death could have caused elections to be postponed. But we have never seen elections being postponed because we have not been able to clarify everything. And I cannot completely hold it against IEBC, because I also do appreciate that as a country, we put them in a tight spot with our delays.
And I'll tell you another delay that has been pointed out previously by IEBC is the issue of funding.
Funding, yes.
Funding is a very key parameter. And I want to bring in Kandel to tell us, because you're an observer, are those issues that you are concerned about? Because there is the institution that is charged with the responsibility of overseeing an election. There are those issues of funding coming very late, so it affects planning. Are those things that you are likely to capture when you are doing your final report?
I cannot truly. I have signed the code of conduct on it, and I'm not supposed to touch on that department.
Can I hold that for you? That badge here, just give it to me. It's okay. I'll hold it for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not at this stage to. Sometimes I do analyze the politics, analyze the legal issues.
Not really the politics, because this is an open secret that within our framework, sometimes the money comes, yes, but it comes a bit late. And it's likely to affect. So as you reflect on that, let me bring in let me bring in Doreen, because I know you are bound by certain
No.
You're yet to write your report.
I missed one point when I was explaining about the
okay, no, you can share it before we go to Doreen.
Because I'm an observer.
And a strong one.
I cannot. Kenya decides.
Kenya decides.
Well, it is very sensitive when you speak, and especially in front of the media, like somebody did in front of the media there. If you allow me to take that video, I can talk to IEBC to cancel the accreditation right now.
Okay. Now you made that point.
Number one.
You made that point, yeah.
Number two, here is the problem. I enter the polling station.
Yes.
And I start talking like, why this turnout is low? It's already 3 o'clock. Why we are having only 20%? Why we are having only 30%? These are the messages which has been taken by the opposition who gonna lose the election. These are the points. That's what the Pendro Candle initiative in this country or anywhere around the world. It is very important to select the election observer. This is the point that has not been taken by IEBC, and this is the point that I have found. They have to take the interview, selecting the observers. And these days, I announced that my organization going to observe in Kenya. I received 149 applications, sir. I can give you the proof. I received 45 applications from Kenya, Nairobi. I did not take anybody because I cannot guarantee what they're gonna say for my organization.
Okay.
Did you get it? It is very sensitive.
Yeah, I get it.
And we cannot, IEBC next time, they don't give the accreditation just by seeing the documents on it.
Okay.
People are around the world, they are interested to go to the election, take the picture, hey, election, these are the things, they are spoiling it.
I get your point.
That's why I'm observing the observers.
Yeah, I get your point. And that information, I'm sure my bosses are watching, it will also get to the reporters.
And
so that we don't put a microphone
in front of the media, regarding the voter turnout, it is my department.
Okay.
Like political ways, legal, that's a legal, this Kenya department. That's not my department. But this is, I know, national media. This is the first time in Kenya that I'm in front of this media. It's an honorable opportunity for me, for my life. And these days, media gonna take me up and up and up and up.
And we're glad that
I'm ready to do any kind of debate regarding voter turnout issues with anybody.
All right.
Not inside the Kenya, outside the Kenya.
Outside the Kenya.
In front of the media.
All right, so that we can do a comparative analysis. And I thank you for just reminding us about that. Is the observer of the observers, Doreen Narangi, you had that, eh?
I had the opportunity to observe one of the observers that in the TV. I was observing him.
Brilliant. Doreen, what do you have for us?
He's basically the lead of the leads.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at it.
He's the lead of the leads.
The lead of the leads, yeah.
Okay, let's come back to the provincial results that we have on our magic wall. Let's look at what has changed so far. We are still just tracking how results are trickling in, and this is specifically for the presidential candidates. We are seeing numbers are changing. As we say, this is changing clearly minute by minute. And that's why we are here to just keep you abreast with how things are looking like. And the minute it changes, we are here to again let you know how things are changing. But keep in mind, just from what you're having on the header there, this is basically provincial presidential results. And it is important for me to remind you to just keep your cool. Don't be anxious, just stay put. This is what you're having there. 22,937 is what we are currently seeing there with the Deputy President William Ruto. That is a total of about 58.92%. Closely there, followed by Raila Odinga at 15,701, a total of 40.33% there. Wajakoya still maintains the 0.5%. This is now 0.52%, which is 201 votes so far. And we have David Mwaure still there with 0.24%. That is 93 votes. But there's one thing I want us to look at very quickly. This is Nairobi County. When you look at the past two elections, and we'll just go over there to see how that panned out. In Nairobi County, to be specific, Raila Odinga, who was also a presidential candidate in those two previous elections, enjoyed support in Nairobi County. But so far, with what we currently have as of now, 13 minutes past 11 a.m., still looks like he's enjoying support there. That is a total of 3,945, which is 50.42%, followed very, very closely with the Deputy President William Ruto at 48.80%, which is a total of 3,818 votes there. But let's just look at some of those constituencies where votes have already come in, and remember that this also is subject to change over time. And we are seeing majorly the blue color there, which is a clear representation of Raila Odinga. We are looking at Embakasi East constituency there, which is one of those areas where we are already seeing votes as Raka constituencies. But let's just look at comparison in respect to what we have. Let's begin with 2017. In Nairobi County specifically, Raila Odinga netted 834,032, a total of 51%. He was followed closely by Uhuru Kenyatta, who had 48.49%. That was in 2017. Quickly, what was, or better still, how things looked in 2013. Still, Raila Odinga was on the lead with 49.42%, which was 691,156. This is in 2013. That we're also doing that comparison to just try and look at how things might tilt when it comes to 2022 general election. Uhuru Kenyatta also followed closely, as at that time, this was in 2013, with 659,490. That was 47.16%. So let's come to 2022. Clearly, again, from what you have, still Raila is on the lead, 3,945. 50.42%, followed closely by William Ruto, 3,818,
48.80%, but that's a very close, you know, when you just look at the margins, it's really slightly above, what, 100, so to speak, at least as of now. But remember also, Nairobi is a key area to watch. Why? We are talking about 2.4 million voters. In fact, it is the county with the majority of voters, brings the country 60% of our GDP. It is the county to watch. Also, when you look at the companies, industries, majority of them are set in this county. And I just like also to bring Gibson on this one. The reason why I want to bring Gibson on this one is just I want to get his perspective, particularly when you look at the margins. This is very close. And in fact, earlier on, DP was on the lead, just about what, exactly 11, he was on the lead. And when you look again, particularly at the youth population, even in Nairobi County, are we likely to see something different in respect to how Nairobi vote might look like when you compare to 2013 and 2017? Again, knowing fully well that the gubernatorial candidate that, you know, is allied to the deputy president, we're talking of him as a young person. When you look at the gubernatorial candidate, you know, coming from the Azimio faction, there was a lot of conversion in respect to him being a project. What are we likely to see in respect to this county? Gibson, what would you make of this?
I think, Doreen, I will want to agree with you because the coming in of the candidate for Nairobi for UDA, that is Johnson Sakaja, has really tilted the scales towards Kenya Kwanza, as opposed to in the 2017 when Raila was leading. And I want to predict that there is really some good work which has been done. There is really some good work which has been done by the Kenya Kwanza coalition in terms of Nairobi, and I think the numbers can tell. The numbers can tell that we are having a shift from it being Baba's bedroom. Now it's becoming a battleground for Kenya Kwanza and Azimio frontiers, given that the DP has done some good work. The DP has done some good work in the ground, and he's been campaigning in Nairobi on and off. And that has got to be manifested in the numbers which we are seeing. And of course, the aspect of Sakaja being in place and the drama which was surrounding is a clearing also. To some extent, you know, politics is politics. As long as I was saying here that some publicity for politicians, you might consider it to be bad, but it actually acts in their gain because it depends on how they use it. Okay. For example, you remember Sakaja saying, these are people fighting me. I'm still going to be in the race, and he's actually being in the race. So that gives people some confidence.
Perhaps before you take it.
Yeah.
Let me take you out from the campaign into
yes.
a very important demographic that Maureen talked about, the youth.
The youth, yes.
All right. These people are permanently on social media platforms, and
exactly.
if you go online, you know, there are so many positive images that you're seeing, you know, images that really warm your heart. But the converse is, we are also seeing some toxic online behavior, and I just want to throw this one to any one of you. How do we safeguard? How do we safeguard? How do we end up with cyber hygiene, you know, where we now have more of positive images and very little of negative images? The Pareto rule. I think the management gurus call it that way.
I think if you may start, I don't know when they will join or what. My perspective is, it's social media. It's called social media. It's a mirror of society. Yeah. That shows the real image of what society is thinking. Yeah. People do not hide because they need to demonstrate, they need to express their views as they think, and they just have the phone there, they just have to put it across. Talking of bringing hygiene, now that's a different discussion, because now you can't separate what people think unless now you will want to start censoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the censoring aspect now will of course bring other aspects. You know, we have other countries where people actually close the internet. We had a very big discussion around whether we are going to shut off the internet during election or not.
But I think the CS came and said, you know what, we are not touching it.
Yes, they did that because even the other CS for IT, for communication actually said, we don't have a framework for shutting down internet. And that was very positive. I really commend you.
By the way, what would it mean, shutting it down? Because we know there are some countries, and you'll tell us, there are some countries where they've actually blocked, you know.
Tommy, could actually mean that we're in a dictatorship or we don't believe in our systems. steps. Because we have laws, if somebody has done a crime in social media, you can actually prosecute him. So why shut it if we can actually use it to prosecute people who are doing on the wrong?
Let me ask you, can we look at what is the very latest on the presidential race? We have Form 34A.
Yes.
You have been told that is where election will be lost or won. So you can see on your screen there, those are the reported Form 34As that have come in so far. And they're coming in quite fast.
Yes.
34,312 out of the total 46,228. So that's 74% already.
Yes.
It's going
that's
very
very
fast.
positive,
Very
yes.
good.
Yeah.
But they have to be verified.
Yeah, they have to be verified.
Yes,
for them to be declared.
Yeah, then they have to be verified.
Yeah.
But they're coming in at a good rate, and that's a good thing, because then the possibilities of us having the verified results being released sooner rather than later is higher.
As I had said, and you see, this is system generated.
Exactly.
So they're actually giving us real time what is happening. IBC is sharing with us whatever it is that they have. And now the part which we have to wait is now the verification and then the declaration.
Yes.
And
which
this,
is a very positive thing.
Which is positive. And all this because of technology.
Yes.
So why don't we just advance with technology?
My observation normally looks after the technological innovation as well. However, at the same time, it is very important to set the culture of election. What does that mean? We cast the vote on the paper. Some country is using the technology. But our country does not have that level of education. So non-educated voters not gonna use the technology and not gonna trust it. And that's why it is very important to set the election culture. And it is the people of Kenya and the government of Kenya and the Kenya gonna decide whether to use the electronic voting machine or paper ballot. I give you my own example. I went to Bangladesh. There was I was there to monitor the electronic machine, and they deployed that machine in six centers, and I was looking at it. 30 minutes they took for one to vote it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it has sweat on it, and you do like this. These are the problem we are having. Okay, we are having the problem, we can solve it. When you are going to solve it on the day of the election, can you delay the election? This is very important.
Very important.
And I went to Denmark. I was expecting they're going to have everything of the technological innovation and everything on the remote. Okay, you can vote through the social media. That's fine. But we need to save our culture. We need to enjoy. We need to congratulate. We need to celebrate the election. This is the day of the country.
That's true.
This day gonna decide the future of Kenya. And of course, I'm sitting in front of the journalists. It is the day for you. Journalism starts from the politics. And I went to Denmark. They were casting the vote. Paper ballot. Paper ballot. They did not use technology.
They used paper?
Yes. And I said, we like it, this is our... And how did they start? They take their children with them. Children is not supposed to watch where they are casting on it. They cast it, they fold it, and they give it to the child or children or the baby. And baby gonna drop in the ballot box. And why did you do that? Because that vote will set the future of my baby.
So they inculcate it very early.
So it is Kenya and Kenyan people to decide whatever it is. Now, regarding the registered voters, I think it is my opportunity, and I have to make clear to the people of Kenya as well. Registered voters are the voters, they are registered. But they are not the voters who gonna vote 100%. Okay, number one. Number two, there might be the chances I will not vote it. I'm registered, but I will not vote it. If I like my candidate, I will vote it, otherwise I will not. So politically, madam, there might be the political analysis on this issue, why the people are not interested in this political day. There might be the economical analysis. I think the country is not economically going on that level, so people are frustrated. They are not interested to vote it. But we cannot touch that point and make to spoil the election, number one. Number two, prediction was 70%. Okay. Gentlemen took the point, and I would like to use that point on the reference as well. How did, there was the 70% turnout in the election in my country as well. I don't like to take that reference and use that reference as well. How did they predict it? Twitter. How can you imagine that the one who messages in the Twitter is in Kenya? Facebook. Can you imagine how many people are using the Facebook? There might be the hackers. There might be the people who are gonna spoil this election. Why? Because coming to this country, I got only one point on my mind. Okay, I have to go Kenya. Why? Kenya has sent the message to the political arena this day. Why? Because 2 terms president, Kenyatta, had changed the job. You go and find other countries around the world in this age who gonna leave the presidency. Either they change the constitution like in Russia. So Kenya has a send message to the world. The new politics gonna start in Kenya. So there might be the hackers. I can debate on Twitter, political campaign, YouTube, Facebook. So we cannot predict. That prediction was completely right. That prediction might be high so that you're gonna get the low turnout, then it can spoil the election end of the day. You predict something like, oh, my boy gonna get 90%. He's not gonna get 80%. I know, but I'm gonna say 90%. And he's gonna get 60%. Why did you get 30% difference? If I had said 80%, it would be 20%. So there might be the political actors behind it. It is the people of Kenya who are gonna save Kenya. It is not we people. So this is, I'm alerting to the people of Kenya. Because end of the day, we are going to save our country by ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
None of the country in the world, they have made other country in the world.
In the world, okay. Yeah, let me, Doreen, I need you on the smart board. If my director can display the presidential, the reported forms 34A again on the screen, we have 34,312 out of a total 46,229, and in terms of percentage, that is 74.22% from 34As in already. The time is 11:28, and just slightly under 25% remaining to go. Yeah, but I like the point that Kandal brought, that there's a way even the education system can speak to, having civic education. We did it in the olden days. It's incorporated in the curricula, so you learn about voting very early when the brain is being developed. So that's a good point you made. Are you familiar with M-Pesa? M-Pesa is a platform for sending and receiving money. It's a very safe way of here in Kenya, and it has won a lot of awards.
No. I'm in Kenya. I've been to United States of America, and I'm very good with new innovative culture as well. But I still prefer use my hand to eat it.
Oh, to eat. Okay, that's a good one.
The flavor.
That's a good. In Ghana, have you observed the Ghanaian election? I don't know whether it's in Ghana
Zimbabwe.
or where. Zimbabwe.
I did it in Zimbabwe.
Where they use marbles. And so it really strengthens your point of culture. It depends on the culture of the country. Let me bring in Doreen to just give us tonight. It's occasionally having a conversation. Doreen, what do you have?
And that's our business. I mean, it's all about numbers and numbers. We are crunching for you those numbers. But before we get to the numbers, I'd like to pick our lead observer's mind, and this particular issue, just still sticking on the aspect of the young people. When you look at the KNBS report over 2019 released in 2020, you're looking at 35.7 out of the 47.6 million Kenyans who form the youth or the young people. So in your observation, even in these elections, I mean, oftentimes we've talked about crowds for hire. We've talked about always the young people being vulnerable, particularly in this election, either when it comes to causing chaos or just a bit of push and pull. So what has been your observation when it comes to that, generally, in respect to young people?
And that question, you've directed it to who?
Our lead observer.
Our lead observer. So
observer.
What she's asking is, we, for example, we did have a report called the Aga Khan report in 2016, and they interviewed the young people, all right? And the summary was, for example, they were asked, do you want to get wealthy? And they said yes. And they were asked, does it matter how you become wealthy? And they said, getting wealthy at any cost. Okay. All right? So it's a sensitive demographic. You're not even almost sure how to handle it.
I have another reservation on it as well. We need to choose the sample. How many samples that you are using in it? Are you using the sample with the same kind of people at the same time? Or are you mixing with every kind of people together? If you go to, like, I've been to this Kibera. I got this all 15 polling station sent by my office in Kathmandu, Nepal. They are operating remotely. They are checking all the security issues in Kenya. And like, you can go, there is no problem. And my driver says, that's a very risky area. I got the information, let's go. I wonder, without security and all. It's completely secured. Whatever you see on the media, sometimes it's not real. And whenever you choose the sample, if I go and choose that sample, they're going to say, I don't know president, I don't like president, I don't vote. So you're going to use that sample and you're going to bring and you're going to predict the whole country? No. I've been to 13 polling centers, more than 65 polling stations. I can confidently, I can tell you, none of the observer have done that so in this day. I woke up 4, everyone are gonna say the same thing, but I had the complete schedule, so I did 65 plus polling station observation. But I did not stay more than 5 minutes in the station. So I cannot tell what happened after that, because I stayed just 5 minutes. I can tell what had happened on that particular time. So it's all about the sample.
Okay.
So you are observing 65 polling stations. That means you are predicting whole Kenya? No, I was within the Nairobi City County only. How can you predict you can say, like, I have deployed this and this. Another important issue. I have observed 65 polling stations. I have not found even a single observing group who has the observer from morning to evening together on the same polling station. It is very important. You have to have the observer morning 5 to evening 5 on the same and get the data, everything. You go 5 minutes and you come out and you observe, how this is no, there was no people. When you go, there was fight. When you go out, there was not fight.
So you recommend that one observer stays at one polling station?
If they are deploying, we are thinking of doing such thing in this country. But telling you the truth, European Union, I think they are deploying and they are doing the observation in this country. 65 polling stations. When I was there, I checked everything. There were not even a single observer of European Union. But I cannot blame after that. When I was there, I didn't see anybody. 65 polling stations. Then how can they gonna write the report? Dipendra Kandel is here in Nairobi City today.
Okay. All right, I get you. Thanks for giving us the...
This is all about the sample. What you are going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about
what kind of sample on it?
Yeah.
Which city? So we cannot do it. Okay, United Nations till date, they are thinking of taking the poverty out from the world. They have been doing so since 60 years. I know. Then why they have not taken that out till date? Why?
Okay.
Who is stopping United Nations to take the poverty out from the country?
From the country. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me cross over. Just hold that thought.
Who is stopping them?
Hold that thought. Let's bring in Zainab Said, who's at Lunga.
I went to Kibera.
Yeah?
I went to Kibera and they die.
Yeah.
They have the $1 per day.
Okay.
Kibera.
All right. You know Kibera is the biggest slum in Africa.
I know. I went to Kibera on my own single.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. You did well.
Because I came here for Kenya.
Okay. Thank you.
Why do I scare here in this country?
All right. That's the observer of the observer.
You have to observe. Observer, hey, come on, go.
Let's move away from Kibera and go to Lunga Lunga, where